the future of money.
We are living in changing economic times due to a ravaging pandemic that continues to cripple economies across the world. But with changes comes new opportunities. My name is Cecilia Lubanga, and this is Diaspora Fusion, where we focus on living in the country and out of the country. Stay tuned. Good evening wherever you're watching us from, and thank you for taking your time to tuning into Look Up TV. My name is Cecilia Lubanga, and this is Diaspora News. Keep your SMSs coming on 20374, as well as all our social media platforms. Now on to the news. On Diaspora News, we look at the international scene, where Guinea's military has called on banks to freeze all government-related accounts so as to secure state assets. This order affects individuals in the outgoing government under President Conde. Still on African news, residents in Nigeria's northwestern Zamfara state will not be able to access internet for 2 weeks following a security exercise to curb banditry crimes in the region. Crossing over, UN still calls on wealthy nations to ditch third shots and send vaccines to Africa for the continent to catch up on the vaccination process. This and more on the report.
Guinea's military junta has asked banks to freeze all government-related accounts so as to secure state assets. The order affects institutional and individual accounts of the outgoing government. Senior officials in the overthrown government will not be able to access their accounts. The coup leader said this was ahead to end rampant corruption, mismanagement, and human rights abuse. West African Regional Bloc ECOWAS has deployed a mission to hold talk forums with the Guinea authorities, calling for the release of President Conde. Still in West Africa, residents in Nigeria's northwestern Zamfara state are under a government directive to shut down internet and phone communications to combat banditry and ransom-seeking crimes in the region. Now in its sixth day, mobile network providers were directed to shut down communications by Nigeria's telecom regulator for 2 weeks. This is to provide room for relevant security agencies to address the insecurity challenge in the state, giving an upper hand against the bandits. 73 students were kidnapped from a state-run high school in Zamfara's Maradun district. Military authorities are on the pursuit of hideouts for criminal gangs known locally as bandits, although this comes at a cost of various businesses run in the state. Residents, however, support the 2 weeks exercise. Soldiers went through forests in pursuit of the bandits as many locals trooped into neighboring states where they can make phone calls. Prominent among the sting of kidnappings was the abduction of over 2,000 schoolgirls in the state. Wealthy countries such as France and Israel are planning to administer third shots of the COVID-19 vaccine due to concerns that immunity from the standard 2 shots is wanting. African Center for Disease Control and Prevention Director John Kengasong raised concerns over rich countries that were disregarding World Health Organization advice to hold off from booster shots until more people were fully vaccinated across the world. He argued, saying enough science has not been seen behind booster shots. Kengasong added, saying it is not known at what point immunity drops to a level it stops offering protection to the system, and without that science, it is surely a gamble. The global program providing COVID vaccine to poor nations is on course to fall nearly 30% short of its mission of 2 billion shots this year. The COVAX program also called on rich countries that had met their domestic needs to forfeit volumes rather than administer third shots. On Thursday, WHO's African head Matshidiso Moeti also added to call on wealthy countries to share vaccine supplies, saying it is urgent for Africa to catch up in the vaccination exercise. Third shot programs will make it difficult for Africa to meet its target of 60 to 7% population vaccination. Only 3% of the continent has been vaccinated, with many at risk since coronavirus continues to evolve. Cecilia Lubanga reporting for Look Up TV, Nairobi.
Right, this is just among some of the international stories making headlines today. Now, are you a Kenyan who has been out of the country in pursuit of greener pastures, and now you have the money, and it is 2021 and COVID-19 is here with us, but you no longer understand where to put your money in terms of investments back home? Well, this episode, it's just for you. Ensure to keep in touch on our SMS line on 20374. And there's a discussion that is just following this news that it's all about some of the new investment opportunities, as well as investment opportunities that have always been there for any Kenyan out there who plans to invest back home. This is Diaspora Fusion. The number of Kenyans living abroad is estimated to be clocking at 3 million. And guess what? This number continues to grow each year. An enormous number that holds immense resources for the development of this country as envisioned in the Kenya Vision 2030. However, the touch of COVID-19 to the economy has brought so many changes. But with changes comes new opportunities. My name is Cecilia Lubanga, and in the house, I'm having an economist who is going to help us critically analyze some of the best sectors in which a Kenyan diaspora can invest in. Yes. Now, Busi, if analyzing the Kenyan's economy 2021, it's something to go by for a Kenyan diaspora is out there, because you're having a big number of diaspora who are, Kenyan diasporas who are out of the country. Most of them go out there to pursue greener pastures. Yes. It could be education, it could be job opportunities. What are some of the fields that have risen with COVID-19?
In terms of the opportunities in the Kenyan economy, there are so many of them that has come up because of the disruptions of the COVID-19. And one of the areas that you find is really emerging, Kenya being a developing country, there is a lot of need for housing. That is why the government came up with the Big Four agenda. And one of the agendas is housing. Most of the Kenyan growing population remained unhoused, especially the low-income earning group. And given that the population is growing, there is a need then to invest in real estate to house this massive population. If you look at even the rentals that some of the people pay in the slums, they are quite high. And you believe, you want to know that these rentals are significant enough to attract investors to actually invest in the low-cost housing in Kenya. And you realize that due to COVID-19, there is now a lot of available land, because people, you just realize that most people are saying, okay, there's a glut in the real estate industry. But I just say that probably the cost of property in this country is just checking itself, and coming to a more reasonable and affordable level. So for those who are in the diaspora seeking to invest in real estate, I believe there is a massive opportunity. Also, as you must have seen that during the COVID-19 disruptions, there's a lot of investment that has gone into infrastructure. There is express highway that is actually now connecting from the airport to Westlands to around Lironi, which is impressively opening these regions now for more development. So with this coming up of the express highway and the infrastructural development, we are going to see a lot of rural-urban migration. Actually now opening up a lot of space for residential properties, for commercial properties that are available there. So that is one of the areas that Kenyans in the diaspora can look into. The other area that is really coming up very strongly is the area of manufacturing. Because once the Kenyan infrastructure is opened up, there is need now to revamp our manufacturing industry. As a country, we're still very low or underperforming when it comes to manufacturing. If you look at the African region, our biggest competitors are South Africa. And if you look at it, the competitive edge that South Africa has over Kenya is with regards to infrastructure. By infrastructure now, we are achieving a reasonable levels of infrastructure. Kenya is going to be an economic hub, actually farm up its economic hub in this African region. And therefore it becomes a very lucrative manufacturing destination, especially if you're looking at the wider East African community manufacturing for that. So if you're looking to invest in infrastructure, manufacturing infrastructure, to serve the East African population, then Kenya becomes the most strategic country. And I believe the future is so bright for the manufacturing entities establishing themselves in the East African region. The other space that has really opened up with COVID-19 is the area of information technology. We've realized that COVID-19 has merely accelerated the need for technology and technological disruptions in terms of businesses. Therefore, those who are looking for investments in the technology space, then it's become a very lucrative industry, because now we're seeing most of the meetings being done on Zoom. There is need for a lot of cloud technology, especially in terms of running businesses. When there's a need for people now to facilitate those working from home, we've seen an increase in uptake of the internet. Therefore, there is a need for having tools, enabling tools for virtual workspaces, which is really another big opportunity that has risen. The other area that we have a very significant opportunity is the area of agriculture. Kenyan population has grown significantly. We're still really investing a lot. Last time from the statistics, we are spending more than 100 billion in the importation of food from other countries. This is a really, really significant investment. And the beauty about it, if you go to the rural areas, we still have some very good fertile land that can be used to produce the food crops. So if we're able to invest in this in agriculture, we'll be able to serve the growing population in Kenya and even the other African continent. And also the emergence of the African Free Trade Area has created an opportunity whereby now Kenyans can trade with the entire Africa without a lot of bureaucracies, without a lot of legal limitations, without a lot of challenges. So as we continue to advance in and adoption of the African Free Trade Agreement that was enacted sometimes last year, it's actually opening up a lot of opportunities into agriculture, especially farming for the African continent. Yes, these are just some of the few opportunities that actually are coming up with the COVID-19 disruptions.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
Now, you've mentioned the real estate, you've mentioned the tech and the agriculture.
Yes.
Now, when you talk of real estate, I've heard that you've just measured around Nairobi.
Yes.
Does it mean there are no other opportunities when it comes to just the country at large? For instance, let's say, talk of Kakamega County, Vihiga County, and any other county in the country.
Yeah, actually, Cecilia, with the devolution, and devolution is one of the best things that happened to this country. And even with COVID, if we had no devolution, I don't know where we could have been, especially even with this COVID disruption. Okay. You realize that there is a lot of growth even in the counties, which is actually the remote part of Kenya. If I visit any of the counties in Kenya, there is a lot of also migration that has happened there. It has increased the disposable income for people living there. Now we have MCS. We have every county in Kenya. Most of the counties in Kenya now have public universities. The healthcare is being upgraded, which also remains another very big area of opportunity. So there's a lot of opportunities even in the counties in Kenya. And one of the analysis that I did actually, if you invest in the counties in Kenya, you are likely to realize a better return on investment than investing in the Nairobi, because you realize Nairobi still there's a lot of competition. People are competing in coming up apartments and all that, and also the cost of land is a bit high. So if you go to the counties, you'll find there is a reasonable actually now property prices, and you can buy and invest into rental properties. You can also invest into agriculture. You can invest into manufacturing, which is also another area of opportunity. And maybe just to add on one of the areas that I also want to advise those living in diaspora. If you look at healthcare in this country, sometimes I'm always tempted to think, do those really who invest in healthcare take it like a business? If you visit some of the hospitals in Kenya, you will want to really question why the healthcare is very poor. You actually can walk, there are very good hotels, facilities in Kenya, but I always wonder, a place whereby you go and you are sick, and that is the time you need a lot of care, you need a good, clean environment, you need doctors who are more responsive, prepared nurses. You just need to be cared for. There is a very big opportunity for anyone willing to invest in healthcare, to invest in hospitals, to invest in good pharmaceutical companies that are able to actually serve this growing population and the healthcare needs of our country. And even this also is happening in our counties. You realize that the referral hospitals that are established with the counties, they are most of them are completely dilapidated, and COVID-19 has put those institutions to test. They are not able to stand up and actually offer the populace a good healthcare system that actually we deserve.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, still touching on the real estate sector.
Yeah.
Now, we're looking at the population distribution in the country.
Yeah.
You know, and definitely Nairobi seems to hold the majority of those people who are working, and definitely those are the people who are able to pay for, you know, when you decide to invest into the real estate, and they're able to pay for the rent and stuff like that. Now, if we look at still in the population distribution, are you able to give us a highlight on what are some of the best, or rather the most central counties that you feel this can happen when it comes to real estate?
Okay, when it comes to real estate, one of some of the top emerging really counties in Kenya, if you look at just besides Nairobi, we have Kiambu that has also a significant population. There's a very thin line between Nairobi and Kiambu. So you'll realize that most of the people also, a significant population that lives in Nairobi is also, that works in Nairobi are also living in Kiambu. So there's a very big opportunity, especially in Kiambu County, for those also who are seeking to invest in. And even just using the statistics that were given recently by Central Bank in terms of how banks have occupied different counties, because banks just don't invest. They invest based on the population, based on the economic vibrance. So Kiambu is a good performing county. Kajiado County, also based on its proximity to Nairobi, is also a very good performing in terms of economy, and also having people who can be able to afford various good property, good lifestyle, and they need services. If you go to Mombasa County, it's also very well established and mature for business, for residential investment, for commercial investment. We have Meru County, which is also really an amazing county in terms of performance, economics-wise. You realize that besides Nairobi, Mombasa, and Kisumu, Meru County almost comes third in terms of the number of banks, in terms of the vibrancy of the economic activities in those particular areas. If also you look at Kisumu, is performing very well in terms of having a very good middle income earning population. They also need leisure, they need healthcare, they need housing, they need food supply. You have other counties, large counties like Kakamega County, really also picking up in a very impressive way. So there is a lot of areas that you can invest in this country, a lot of opportunities in any of the countries that you want to look at. There is an emerging really middle class because of, you know, the GDP of Kenya has grown a bit significantly, especially for the last almost 10-15 years. So there is people have increased their disposable income. Therefore, the ability to buy and invest and be able to consume has really grown. So there is a need for investors to look into these opportunities to serve these people. Okay, now Ronald, I'll keep you on hold for a bit. We are going on a short commercial break, but before we go for the break, we just want to look at the, you know, diaspora fusion, some of the best destinations in the world. And this year we are looking at Tokyo, having that Olympics just took part in Tokyo. You're just going to have a glimpse of what Tokyo has in store. Let's take a look.
business? Broadcast your sermon, share birthday wishes, make funeral announcements, produce adverts and documentaries? Then book and advertise with us today by calling us on +254 700 893 542
700 893 542
or email us on sales@look-up.tv.
The future of money is simple, like unlocking possibilities with a smile and having the world in the palm of your hand. It's the ability to touch many lives at the same time and turn your dreams into reality. It's forgetting and still remembering. Simple is having everything that you love in one place. From the ticket to your next meal, to your ticket to the next holiday. It's an easy way to ask for a boost when you're low. And keeping track of everything on the go. The future of money is simple, and it's here. Download the new M-Pesa app today.
Career Guide.
Always acknowledge people who help you. It may sound simple to acknowledge those who offer assistance, but it's genuinely a significant gesture. Whether someone gives you 5 minutes of their time or introduces you to a potential employer, it's important to let that person know that it meant something to you.
Career Guide. Health Check in association with
Natural Juicing Center.
Importance of fruits. Fruits are an excellent source of essential vitamins and minerals, and they are high in fiber. Fruits also provide a wide range of health-boosting antioxidants, including flavonoids. Eating a diet high in fruits and vegetables can reduce a person's risk of developing heart disease, cancer, inflammation, and diabetes.
Health Check in association with
Natural Juicing Center. You can now book for any service or order for food supplements on our website www.naturaljuicingcenter.co.ke. You can also visit our center in Kahawa Sukari, house number 1334, Kahawa Sukari Avenue. Natural Juicing Center. Your health is your wealth.
Please make those payments and take dinner out the freezer. Enjoy your day off.
Hey.
How was your day?
Great.
Did you pay the bills?
Abby did it.
And the plumber?
Abby did it.
Send money to your mom?
Abby did it.
Who's Abby?
Bank on WhatsApp with Abby, your 24/7 digital personal banker. Another digital innovation that gets things done. That's Africanacity. That's ABSA.
Did you take dinner out the freezer?
Welcome back. This is Diaspora Fusion, and I'm Cecilia Lubanga, and still we're having a discussion on some of the best sectors to invest in for our diasporas out there and planning to invest back home. Keep your SMSs coming on 20374. And still in the house, I'm having a Ronald Bossi who is helping us. Before we went on a break, he helped us analyze some of the counties that one can invest in when it comes to real estate. Back to you, Ronald. Now, we have talked of real estate, and as I mentioned, there are some of the sectors that probably could be collapsing, or rather they are still there. Let's talk of hospitality.
Yes.
Hospitality, with COVID being there, traveling has been, rendered. We no longer tend to have tourists, or yes, we do have local tourists, but movement has been limited for quite a while. Now, we have seen a shift where we are having, people shifting from, posh hotels to just having, homestays, or other staycations, where people come together and they stay in a house and they enjoy themselves in what we call B&B in Kenya. What can you say about real estate in Kenya?
In terms of hospitality,
rather hospitality.
Hospitality,
sorry.
Yeah. What I can say about hospitality,
yes,
it's not a place to make money now.
Okay.
But for a long-term investor, hospitality remains a very lucrative industry that you can invest in. What I could say that hospitality industry has just merely taken a commercial break.
Okay.
For it to maybe reorganize things, to get things to get reorganized a bit. Because you realize after COVID-19, people will still continue to travel. There is a lot of globalization that will not stop going on. So there is a need for investment into hospitality industry, and this is the best time to invest, but this is not the best time to make money. Okay. Because there's always time to invest and there's a time to make money. Because it's going to slow down. Any person who is looking forward to invest in hospitality will be looking at maybe 2, 3, 4 years to start making income.
So it's more like a long-term investment.
Long-term investment.
Okay.
So, and it's good industry to invest in because now, because of the challenges that are going on, those who are run hospital industries and maybe had facilities to finance and they're having struggles with the bank, probably they are releasing those facilities to those who have the funds. So anybody who has capital and wants to invest in hospitality, especially for the long term, this is the best time to do that, because immediately the hospitality picks up, nobody will be able to afford, especially in Kenya. Kenya is an emerging economy. And I just said that after we've realized the infrastructural development that this government has put into place, then there's going to be a very huge jump in terms of the economic growth. And especially if we have put our politics together and there's a peaceful elections in 2022, then we're going to see a very, very radical growth in our economy, and hospitality will be very critical in anchoring this global migration into Kenya. Kenya becoming a tourism destination. You've seen that now there is a lot of need and visibility on the map in terms of how this infrastructure has opened up even places like Mara, even in most of our tourist destinations.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, can't we just say, or rather, can't we just look at a different way of looking at this? Because at the end of the day, as far as the movement is quite limited, hospitality, we can't just kill hospitality and just say that, you know what, let's put a break to this until next time, you know? Yes, it's a long-term investment, but you have seen people trying to shift and being creative in ways that they're even making their homes become, you know, places that people can come in and come together and, you know, try to restore the kind of enjoyment that used to be there.
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
that is a good idea, and especially by NB, trying to reinvent homes to accommodate the travelers. But I believe that is happening because of the high demand for hospitality industry, high demand for comfort. But still, you will realize that those players in the hospitality industry, they will have an upper hand if they have developed hospitality as their core business. And then also people can decide, then let's put up maybe apartments, commercial apartments, to be able to host these people, because people are not looking for more space. They're looking for good service. They're looking for comfort and all that. So if you can be able to put up apartments, you will also realize that townhouses and all that, they can provide a very good alternative to just traditional hotel facilities. Maybe the areas that are going to be hurt a bit by especially in the hospitality industry are conference meetings. If actually the virtual meetings are adapted fully, and then now we're going to have a bit of slowdown in the conference meetings. But again, you realize that even though virtual meetings have grown really exponentially because of the COVID-19, it doesn't mean that it is going to completely stop physical meetings. There is need for people to meet still physically and interact, you know, and make critical decisions. Yeah.
Now let's go to tech. You already mentioned tech in a brief and mentioned some of the sectors that one can invest in. Now, can you just narrow it down to to being specific, whereby where exactly am I putting my money? Yes, I want to invest into tech, but what is booming right now when it comes to tech?
In terms of tech industry?
Yes.
You realize that as a country, we've become so vulnerable to Western technologies. It's like we are adapting everything from the West. If you realize something like virtual meetings, why don't we have a local virtual meetings applications that are being used by our corporates or even our people? Why is it that we are only working towards Zoom, we're working towards Google Meet and all that, but we are not thinking about promoting our own tech people. This country happens to be having very smart minds when it comes to tech. I interact with the graduates in computer science and IT, and I have some of them in my office. I realize they are some of the most smartest IT people, and they can do an amazing job if they're only given a platform to do that.
And what is that platform? What is that platform?
The platform is one, how do we promote recognition of local software? Look at countries like China. China knows that the next biggest battle or superpowers is on the internet space and on the technology. That's why in China, you know, Google is never working there. If you look at Facebook, it's not really an application that will be accepted in China. Why? Because they know that that is a very, very critical space to invest in. They come with their own alternatives to give to people. But Africans, we become so vulnerable just taking in what is given, and therefore we are leading a lot of money going to abroad in order to pay for these apps. But if actually our government, even our African governments can come up with the African apps and tools that are able to facilitate our interaction on the internet space, then it's going to spur really a lot of economic development and stop a lot of capital flight whereby we are paying for these apps. If you look at the amount that is being paid to companies, especially from this country, to companies like Google, for Google Meet, for Zoom, for other even just simple tools that are being used in our corporates, it's a massive capital flight that is getting out of this country. And yet those things we can do them locally and promote them. But because we are abandoning our local things and importing and everything, then we're going to get into a lot of trouble. In this country, if you're looking for even virtual hosting, you know, virtual things like servers, there are very few that actually are existing within the country. You have to probably go to Europe or to go to Germany and all that to get a virtual space whereby you can store your data. If investors can see this is a big opportunity, then they are going to come up with servers that are able to provide virtual data domiciliation for the local companies. And this is a massive opportunity. But again, it will really offer a good returns if we leverage on the entire East African population or African population, so that any investor in that particular facility is able to benefit. It's a time that we stop being very vulnerable to every technology that is coming up from the West and start actually appreciating our local technology. I was working with a company that had come from Netherlands, and it was actually working with the local tech. They had come and looked for the local tech guys now to work now for foreigner companies, whereby they develop apps for foreigner companies, and those apps are later now bought by our local companies. So it's quite a fallacy. We need to come up with a strategy. How do we get these tech people reorganized, come up with solutions that we're able to adapt them within our institutions, within the government, and I believe that is really going to spur economic growth and even employment for our youth who are just graduating from colleges and universities here.
That's amazing. That's quite insightful.
Yeah.
Now, as we wrap up this discussion, okay, we have just mentioned what was already existing, and it's expanding because of the opportunity that has been, the space that has been created by the COVID-19.
Yeah.
Now, is there any other new opportunity that you can say that this is totally new, and I feel like this one area, or these are several areas that someone can actually put their money in?
In terms of the areas that people can, maybe the new areas.
The new areas, yeah.
If you look at it, Cecilia, and look at the global trends, there is a labor crisis globally. People don't have enough labor to get things done. The biggest war between China and America and why has China risen really stronger than America is because of the Chinese labor supply. They just ensure that they have a population, a huge population, yes, a youthful population that is endowed with very good skills in order to do simple things, and therefore beating Americans because of their population increase. So in Kenya, globally, you are told that Kenya, African, even Kenya included, the average population is 19 years. This means that we have a growing youthful population that if we're able to invest them in terms of education, it is really going to spur economic development. So the areas that are very much emerging is issues to do with the labor supply, issues to do with education is very critical, and even just making sure that these competence-based curriculum is completely entrenched into our systems. Currently, if you look at in Nairobi, the fees that you'll pay for a kindergarten student is even more than what you paid for the university. It's an amazing, opportunity there in the schools. And yet, even the services that we receive in these kindergarten and primary schools are not really commensurate to how much you pay. You will actually pay in just very simple schools in Nairobi. You will pay close to $3,000 in a year for the fees. So it's a very good opportunity for those who are looking forward to invest into education, to make sure that at least our youth are more equipped and they are well prepared for the future. It's a good opportunity for those who can perfect the competence-based curriculum in those schools and ensure that they offer that. And also it's a good opportunity for those looking forward to invest into labor market, just connecting employers and employees. It's very critical because even if you look at globally, there is a need for labor. Leave alone, why are we just taking people to Middle East? If you go to Canada, there is a labor gap. There are no people to work. If you go to America, still they have a labor crisis. But they are not just looking for anybody. They are looking for people who are skilled in a particular knowledge. So we need to put a lot of emphasis in education. We need to invest in it thoroughly so that we are able to meet the global labor demands.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ronald. We have come to the end of today's discussion, and that was very insightful information from an economist who has given us and analyzed for us some of the best sectors that one can invest in as a diaspora is planning to come and invest back home. And just like that, we have come to the end of this week's episode of Diaspora Fusion. And it is evident that despite the fact that COVID-19 has ravaged the economy, there's still so many chances for any Kenyan out there who is a diaspora and planning to invest back home. My name is Cecilia Lubanga, and until next week, same time, goodbye.
We value your feedback and welcome your complaints about our programming and operations. Feel free to get in touch with us through 0700 893 542 or send us an email to views@look-up.tv. We can't wait to hear from you.
Career Guide.
Always acknowledge people who help you. It may sound simple to acknowledge those who offer assistance, but it's genuinely a significant gesture. Whether someone gives you 5 minutes of their time or introduces you to a potential employer, it's important to let that person know that it meant something to you.
Career Guide.